We have been fed this idea that motherhood is this all-encompassing, all joy-giving, all wonderful, sort of perfect thing. And while it does hold that, it also holds a lot of complexity as well.
When you found out you were pregnant, what were some of the emotions that you felt around that time?
It was excitement and just overjoyed. Like, oh, okay, I'm pregnant. How's life going to change?
There is not a set way we should be feeling. There are some people that are devastated. There are some people that it triggers a lot of their own upbringing and their own anxieties.
Sammy, in light of the pregnancy, has it shifted your relationship in any way?
This is a journey, not just for me, but for him as well. And in some way, it's brought us closer in a way that is very different.
One of the biggest sort of mistakes that people make is to think that things aren't going to change. There's this expectation that the spouse is going to be just as excited and involved. Make sure that they are setting themselves up for success by having adequate support.
And we really wish you so well on this beautiful journey. Just that you enjoy every moment with it. Hi everyone, we're back with Let's Talk Baby, and I'm joined by Jenny. Hi Jenny.
Hi Kath.
And Sammy. Hi Sammy.
Hi Kath.
And it's so exciting today because we get to do our third podcast around Sammy's pregnancy. So we've really used and abused it, but it's been such an exciting journey with you on. And we've covered your physical changes that you've gone through in pregnancy. We've covered your expectations around breastfeeding, and we'll definitely be talking more about breastfeeding when your baby's born and in the future. So those were really, really interesting podcasts. And if you haven't listened to them, please go back, find them, listen to them. They really offer just some lovely nuggets of information that you, as a mom who's on a pregnancy journey, can identify with. But today, because we've got lovely Jenny with us, who's our clinical psychologist, we're going to look at just some of the emotions during pregnancy, and we're going to just look at what you can expect, what is natural, what is real, what you can do with some of the emotions and some of the feelings that you feel. And we really hope that today, again, will just be a safe space for you to learn and just to navigate some information as we just chat amongst ourselves and just discuss that as part of the pregnancy journey. So, Sammy, the first question that I have for you is, when you found out you were pregnant, what were some of the emotions that you felt around that time and that moment?
I think, first and foremost, so my husband and I decided that we wanted to start a family. So it was like a planned pregnancy or a wanted pregnancy. And so obviously when we found out we were pregnant, it was excitement and just overjoyed, and obviously feeling very blessed that we were lucky enough to fall pregnant. And then I think once you kind of get over those emotions, the sort of reality starts setting in, and you think, oh, okay, I'm pregnant. How's life going to change? I need to grow this baby. And probably a little bit of anxiety setting in over what the next few months were going to look like.
And Jenny, what are some of the common emotions that new moms feel when they find out they're pregnant? Like what Sammy mentioned, some of the reality of the excitement, but then also the reality of, a bit of anxiety. Is that quite normal?
Absolutely. And I think such a big thing to remember is that we have been fed this idea that motherhood is this all-encompassing, all joy-giving, all wonderful, sort of perfect thing. And while it does hold that, it also holds a lot of complexity as well. And so I think what's so interesting is that from the get-go of finding out that you are pregnant, where sort of your first day of motherhood starts, there's this assumption that we need to be ecstatic and overjoyed. And I think that often isn't the case. I think there are many complex emotions that can be experienced when finding out that you are pregnant, even if it might be a wanted pregnancy or a planned pregnancy, or perhaps if it isn't one. There is just such a disparity, I think, in what is experienced by many people. And I don't think there is a normal experience. I think there are some people that are devastated, and there are some people that it triggers a lot of their own stuff, their own upbringing and their own anxieties. A lot of people who are already dealing with mental health issues themselves that this might exacerbate. There are a lot of things that come with being pregnant. So for people that might be struggling with mental health difficulties, it might mean changing or coming off certain medication. And that in itself can be a difficult thing. So it might be such a wanted pregnancy, something that you might be so excited about, but it comes at a lot of sort of stress and concern and worry about many other things. So I think to normalize the fact that there is not a set way we should be feeling at all about finding out that we might be pregnant, and to also hold that can change. I think similar to what Sammy has experienced, that you can start out feeling one thing and you will go through a really sort of very set trajectory of like up and downs of what you might feel. So you'll move through really excited, elation, and then there'll be times where you are completely out of your depth, feeling overwhelmed. There'll be times that you are anxious. There'll be times that you're excited again. So I think to just hold that this is a really sort of normal roller coaster ride that I suppose is the start of motherhood. In many respects, it's very similar to what motherhood is going to be like. So it really is the first sort of taste of such varying and complex emotions for one thing.
Yeah, I love that. And I think from both of you, just to, summarize, just all feelings are validated. They're all real. And I think the important thing is to acknowledge them and to actually seek out help if you're really struggling with them. And I think that is just really important, that there is nothing wrong that you're feeling. It's what you're feeling. And that's what's important, So, Sammy, in light of the pregnancy and you and Matt being excited, has it shifted your relationship in any way? Have you noticed a change in the way you relate to each other, or the way Matt relates to you?
I think, I can say that our relationship, before falling pregnant was pretty solid. That was something that was really important to us. So, I think if anything, it's brought a whole new bunch of excitement. And like we spoke about the emotions, so for both of us, I think in some way it's brought us closer in a way that is very different, because it's a completely new experience for us. So like I'm going through my own emotions, Matt's also going through his emotions. And it sort of made us realize that this is a journey, not just for me, but for him as well. And also in that, we've got these few months where it's just him and I, and soon we're going to become a family of 3. And so it's also cherishing these moments that we have that is just him and I, and that, in the future, we've got this little person that we're going to have to consider. So it's almost, being cognizant of being selfish in our relationship at this stage, because it's just us that we need to think about and consider. So it's prioritizing our relationship a lot at this stage, because we're preparing ourselves for the changes that are going to come.
Okay, I love that. And Jenny, what advice would you give couples who are embarking on this new journey, especially first-time pregnancies, with regards to their relationship, and some of the, just maybe 1 or 2 nuggets that can just help them on this journey?
For sure. I think there's 2 quick things, and I love what Sammy and Matt are doing, because I think one of the biggest sort of mistakes that people make is to think that things aren't going to change, and to be adamant that we are going to be just like we were, and this baby is going to fit into us. And the reality is that there are big shifts to come on so many levels. And I'm sure we're going to spend many podcasts discussing many of these, but there are so many shifts, including shifts to the relationship and the dynamics between you and your partner. And if you are able to prepare for that, it's such a big difference to how that will then unfold. Often people don't realize or expect that shift to come. And then when it does come, there's two very different approaches to how to manage that and deal with that. And typically, mom is often preoccupied with the baby, and that is something that then doesn't have easy resolution. So being able to preempt that shift is coming is such a big one. The second thing I think that is important to hold is that it's amazing if your partner or spouse can be on board with you and understand the pregnancy journey that you're walking, and also that they are walking a pregnancy journey. But what we do often find with a spouse of someone that is pregnant is that pregnancy is a very different journey to the actual sort of parenthood when the child is there. So pregnancy is very much an internal journey. It's about, you are carrying the baby, you are feeling physical things, you are feeling emotional things, but there isn't really anything often for the spouse that feels physically different. And so often what we see is that the person who's pregnant sort of is walking a much different journey and is really sort of immersed in all things baby. While for the person who's not pregnant, there's not a lot of change in their lives. And so often for the partner, the change really comes when suddenly there is this real life baby that's crying and making a noise and we're not sleeping and everything has changed. But to hold on to how different that then is that for the pregnancy journey, the person who's pregnant and the spouse often are walking quite different journeys, and to be quite mindful of that.
I think that's so important. Again, just conversation and communication is so helpful during that time. And would you say that in general, maybe I could ask you the question, what as the pregnant mom could she do to encourage the kind of connection for the dad and the partner with regards to the growing baby and everything? Is there anything she could do practically that could bring that person in?
I think the big thing is inclusion. I think it's very easy to do a lot of it alone and to kind of immerse yourself in this connection with the baby that you're carrying. But if you can include your partner on what that experience is like for you all the time, so what it is like to be feeling the way you feel, the fears you might have, the excitements and dreams that you might have for this child, how you envision motherhood to look, what your family dynamics are going to look like, the more you can actually just engage with this, the more they feel part of the journey. You sort of get to determine how much access they have to you and the pregnancy. So that really is something that the pregnant mom gets to sort of determine how involved that partner or spouse is. And I think sometimes it is about communicating. Often as moms, there's this expectation that the spouse is going to be just as excited and involved and want to know everything about the pregnancy. And often they don't. And then we often build quite a lot of resentment because they're not constantly engaging and asking. So a lot of it is also about saying, I'm going to make sure I verbalize my needs. And if I want my spouse to be involved in this pregnancy, I actually have to make that known and set up ways that we can achieve this. I can't sit in silence hoping that my partner is going to step up in the way I want them to.
Yeah, I think bring them in.
Sorry, Kath, but I was actually just going to say that it's so interesting that you said that, because Matt actually said to me, and he brought it up because I had all this excitement and the baby and all of that, especially earlier on before I was showing, and I was having all these feelings, but for him it was like this, okay, she's pregnant, but he's not really feeling it. And he actually said to me, he said, you know what? I don't want you to think that I'm not excited and that I'm not happy about it, because that's not it. He just said, it's just, to me, it's like foreign. I'm not feeling what you're feeling. I know you're pregnant, and in the back of my mind, I'm excited and I know there's this baby coming. But he said, until such time that I have this baby in my arms, to me, it's just, it's not the same as what you're going through. And I think, like you say, the fact that he verbalized it to me, I could then understand that it wasn't that he wasn't excited and it wasn't that he wasn't sharing in the joy. He just felt so differently to how I was feeling because he wasn't going through it himself, and the actual physical changes himself.
Exactly, 100%.
Yeah, I think that verbalized so nicely, and at least he verbalized it with you, which was wonderful.
Exactly.
Wonderful. And Sammy, when you think of now, we spoke about the baby coming, and do you sit and think about that? What sort of thoughts go through your mind? And is there some anxiety? What are the expectations? How do you vision yourself as this new mom? Just put us in your head for a little bit and just tell us what's going on there with regards to the upcoming mommy time.
So I think it's interesting for me because I work with a lot of moms. I work with a lot of new babies. So I think it is different in the sense of I am going to be a first time mom, and everybody always says, "Oh, you're going to be amazing and you know everything and all of that." And I'm like, I think I do, but I think when it's your own child, I think it's like completely different. And so I'm kind of preparing myself for that. Like I've got the knowledge. And it's part of my daily work, but I'm not, I'm preparing myself for when it's your own child. Things can be so different, and I'm not going to know everything, and I'm going to need to ask for help. So it's kind of also, reminding myself and being gentle in that I'm also a first-time mom, and that's going to be my role. It's not going to be the professional. I'm gonna, like I say, I have to ask for help. I'm gonna have to look at textbooks. I'm gonna have to go on my own courses as a mom and not as a professional. And so it's reminding myself about that. And I think, I think in this pregnancy, I've had a lot of anxiety with regards to just my general health and the baby's health. I think it's stemmed from having my own health issues in the past. So I've had moments where I've been, super anxious. And luckily, I've got a very understanding and supportive gynae who, understands my anxieties. And so, she's in more than one case kind of put my mind at ease and said, come in for a scan, we'll have a look, check that everything's fine. And and then also Matt, my husband's also very supportive. He knows when I am feeling anxious or when it's something that's kind of niggling me, and just knows how to support me and how to deal with me when I am feeling anxious, about my health and about the pregnancy. But I think as I'm coming towards the end of the pregnancy, it's kind of mixed emotions about the birth, and do I feel prepared? What's the birth going to be like? I've kind of sort of forced myself not to have expectations or just to be very open-minded, because again, I've seen how things can be very different. You have this plan in your mind, or you think, I want it to go this way, I want it to go that way, or I want to be this type of mom and I want to do it this way, but it doesn't always work out like that. So I've kind of just like I say, allowed myself or reminded myself to be gentle on myself and not to put things in little boxes, but just to be really open-minded about the rest of the pregnancy, about the birth, and about those early weeks and months of having a newborn.
Yeah, and Jenny, just on some of the things that Sammy's mentioned, just around anxiety, and is that quite a normal feeling for moms to experience as they come to closer and closer to birth and closer to holding this little person that they've been nurturing? And what are some of the tips and just a few practical things that you could just help new moms and pregnant moms with regards to navigating those emotions as leading up to the birth?
Yeah, I think it's such a common experience for many expecting moms to experience anxiety. And the thing about anxiety is that what it is often linked to is to the unknown or to things that are uncertain. And that is why people often experience anxiety, because there's this big sort of question mark. And I think never before are there so many question marks than around pregnancy, birth, and what a newborn is going to be like. We might prepare as much as we can have all the knowledge in the world, but we just do not know what the birth is going to look like, what having a newborn is going to look like, the impact on us, how we are going to shift as mothers. And so I think that part that is just that there are so many unknowns is often what causes the anxiety. And that's a tough one because that is something that we have to just sit with. But I think it is a very, very typical experience for most expecting moms. The other thing is that, and I often say this to many of my patients, I say there's a difference between sort of debilitating clinical anxiety, and then there's this thing that I call mom anxiety. And that is, I don't know a mom, I've never met a mom that doesn't experience anxiety about the well-being of their kid. And that is different to me. It feels a little bit more nuanced, and it feels different to sort of overwhelming anxiety. And while both are often experienced in pregnancy, I think there is also this deep sort of worry about the well-being of your baby. And that is a very normal thing. And I think that is something that will be with you even when your kids are adults. It's something that you just want to make sure they're okay. And that is the biggest thing that often taps into the anxiety, is just the concern for the well-being of your baby. And so I think, the biggest thing around this is being able to identify when it feels like it's debilitating, and perhaps then getting into a therapy space or finding some additional support. But I think if you can recognize and have awareness of the anxiety, that is a very normal and typical thing, and catch yourself in that moment and reassure yourself about the things you can control. There's almost these two little circles that we have, and we put certain things into things that I have control over and things that I don't have control over. And just being able to make that distinction is sometimes helpful, because it's very easy to get lost in the overwhelm of these very big things that actually we have absolutely no control over.
Yeah, that's really helpful. I love that putting stuff into groups. Where's my kind of area that I can have an influence and control over, and where don't I, and how do I just manage that and realize that I can't focus on it, because that's then going to breed more anxiety. So that's so helpful.
Very little things like, if I'm worried about, the health, something I control is ensuring that I put nutritious food into my body, ensuring that I am resting, over a weekend or in the evening. So very tangible things that make the anxiety feel a little bit more sort of manageable versus things that are out of my control, and making that distinction.
Yeah, I love that. So your focus is different and shifted to something you can actually do something about. Yeah. And I think just to end, just really, just very short, but just how, firstly, Sammy, just very quickly, how would you see somebody supporting you as a new mom? What would that look like in the early weeks? Have you made plans around that? Have you given that some thought? And then maybe, Jenny, you can just weigh in and just kind of give us one or two tips for those out there who can support, and how we as pregnant moms can ask for support.
So I think, Kath, like I said, I'm lucky enough to have a very supportive husband. So I know that he's going to be sort of my main support in those early days. And my mom will be flying down. Probably she'll try and aim to be here for the birth, and probably stay a little bit afterwards. And yeah, I'm blessed to have a close circle of friends and family and a really great community. And I think the big thing is I don't know how I'm going to feel after the birth. And also going to be very cognizant of not too much support, but, also needing a little bit of space to bond with a newborn and bond as a family. So I think, just going to be cognizant of the fact that I have the support around me, and that when I feel that I do need it, is to call on those people, and to ask for the support that we may need in those early days.
I love that. That is lovely. Yeah, because you don't know how you're going to feel. So it will be a journey. Thanks, Jenny.
Yeah, I think, one of the most sort of challenging aspects of motherhood, while being the most rewarding, are those early sort of weeks and months of a newborn. And I think when you chat to many moms, they will say that one of the biggest things that they struggled with or had difficulty with was probably the lack of support during that time. And I think we can really take this information and be able to say, with hindsight, what we need is to set up those things already in the pregnancy. And so for me, I think it's such a big thing that pregnant moms make sure that they are setting themselves up for success by having adequate support in those early sort of weeks or months, because many, many, many new moms talk about feeling very alone, very isolated, and it is a very, very sort of draining process where you are completely giving of yourself entirely every sort of aspect of the day. And often that journey is just made so much lighter when you know that there are similar people going through similar things. And so support is a critical one. I think support is the thing that can make or break any person in any different context of life. But I think for moms that have gone through a birthing process, have a newborn, and really just navigating a new way of life, support is critical. And so I would really suggest that pregnant moms already now think about how they can access different support systems. So it's an amazing thing to be part of another sort of mom community where people are walking a similar journey to you, but also reaching out to your support networks, whether that is your family, it could be church communities, it could be your local clinic. And I think we are lucky to have an enormous online forum where there is a wealth of information and support available to new moms. And so being able to access that, I think, is such a big, big, big part of walking into a new motherhood journey.
I love that. Thank you, ladies. We've got so much more we could talk about, but we're out of time. And moms and dads out there and partners, we really just want to encourage you on this journey. It really is exciting. Be real about how you feel, communicate, chat, ask for help, and set up those support networks before you have your baby, because it really is so important. I remember when I was about to give birth to my first child, someone said to me, find 2 solid voices of information that you can trust and filter everything through those voices. And I really found it so helpful because there is such a lot of information out there. And when you have that opportunity to kind of narrow it through to trusted voices, whoever that be, it a mom, a mom-in-law, a friend, a doctor, a clinic sister, whoever it is, then it's not so confusing, because everyone has different ideas and different perspectives, and that can also really be helpful. So thank you for joining us today on Let's Talk Baby, and we've really enjoyed this time together with you. We hope that you found it valuable, and we really wish you so well on this beautiful journey if you're pregnant or if you're planning to become pregnant. Just that you enjoy every moment with it. So thank you, Jenny, for being part of this, and it's just so lovely always chatting with you. And thank you, Sammy, and lovely chatting with you always too. And we're excited for the next season of your pregnancy and then the new season with your baby, which we'll definitely be talking more and more about. So thank you ladies.
Thanks, Kath.
Yeah.